Hi there, welcome to my channel. This is Trisha. Today I'm going to share with you my watercolor process to create a night sky scenery. This painting exercise will be very easy for beginners because I'm going to show you step by step of the process. We're going to use wet on wet technique and wet on dry technique. Well, let's get started. So the very first step of this process is to wet the paper. Wet the paper just with plain water, no paint. Just make the paper, it doesn't have to be too saturated with water, just enough that you can see some shininess on your paper. And then the second step is to start adding the colors, the paint, so that paint is already mixed with water, but not too much. And I always start with the lighter colors. So I started there with the yellow, and then I put a little bit of that peach color. And then I added a tiny little bit of orange. Now the blue one is what's going to give a very nice effect because it's contrasting very well with all the other colors and contrasting a lot with the yellow. The thing is, when you put yellow and blue together, you're gonna have a little bit of green. So initially that was not my plan, but it ended up being like that, and I kind of liked it, so it's okay. I'm gonna just leave it like that. And then of course, if you have too much water, like you see me doing there, just remove it a little bit with a rag or a paper towel, just so it's not going to bleed through the tape. As you can see, I taped the paper into a cardboard, or it can be a wooden surface or anything like that. So your paper is flat. Otherwise, if you don't tape the paper, you're gonna have a lot of bubbles, or your paper is going to start to bend. And even with the tape, that happens anyway, but it would be much worse without it. So always tape your paper into something. It is easier that way. So now we let it dry. That can take quite a few minutes. You can use a hair dryer if you want to speed up the process. I just usually let it dry naturally. And so here I felt like I needed more blues, more colors, darker colors, because I want to create night sky, as the picture that you're seeing there in the screen. That's just to remind that that is our final result. So I just put it there so you can have an idea what the goal is, what we're trying to achieve. But of course, with watercolors, everything is unpredictable, and that is the fun of it. That's what makes watercolor so much fun, because you really cannot predict what the water is going to do. So that process becomes kind of a surprise in the end. And that's what I think the fun is. So also adding a little more of orange and just playing really with the colors, just letting the water do the job. Basically, that's what it is with watercolor paint. You let the water transform your paint into something that you're not even expecting. And then I'm just turning around because I want to let the water run to the top of the paint. So here it's already dry, and it is the same painting, but I had to add more tape. That's why you see that blue tape around the whole paint, because I just had to. The washi tape was not holding the paper onto that cardboard, so I had to use another tape there. So what I'm doing now, I'm trying to create that mountain, the background mountains, and there are two mountains. So this is the one that is a little bit further away, and then of course the foreground mountain. And so I'm just using different times of, different tones of blue, and then of course let it dry. And then here I'm coming back after it's already dried. I'm coming back with more blue, darker blue, to make it very distinct from the sky and from the other mountain. And that blue is doesn't have a lot of water there, so that's why it's darker. So we'll let it dry again and come back. And now it's time to add our little pine trees. Trying to do here is just to use the paint, very dark combination of blue and green there on my palette. And I practiced this on a separate piece of paper, and I recommend it if you were a beginner to practice every time that you're adding something that kind of really don't want it to get this part wrong, or make a mistake here, because since it's a very dark color, it's kind of difficult to fix. So I always have a piece of paper on the side, so you can practice before you bring into your paint. So I practice this little tree, and I'm not putting too much attention to it and just kind of having fun making those shapes to make it look like a pine tree, and just not very concerned with making it look very realistic. I mean, you could do that, but let's just keep it simple. This is just for fun, and I think it looks good anyway. So after you see the end of the end result of the painting is when you notice that, oh, that really looks like a pine tree. So right now the whole paint is a little raw and looks unfinished, and looks like a lot of things are missing, because this is a process. And at some point we just need to kind of trust the process and keep going. There are phases in this kind of painting that we think that, oh, this is not going to turn into anything, but if you just keep doing and keep being persistent, you will achieve the results that you like. And in the meantime, you have fun in the process, because this is a really fun process. It does require a little bit of patience. You have to wait to dry, and wait again, and then at some point then the tape is not helping. So those things happen, but just have patience, you will get there. Okay, so now I'm going to use this circular ruler to add our moon up in the sky. And that pencil is chalk pencil, or a pastel chalk pencil. And now I'm just using white watercolor paint with very minimum amount of water, practically almost no water, to make that moon, to create the moon in the sky. And then we'll come back again and fuss over this moon several times. And I'm just keeping it simple, just the white color, just round. I'm not gonna make it look like 3D or anything like that. Just have a representation of the moon. And then of course we'll let it dry and fix a little bit around the moon. I'm actually adding a little more water and blue around the moon, because what I'm trying to do here is to have that glow effect around the moon that we see many times, especially if your sky it's a little cloudy, or or it's a cold night, you tend to see that. And I am a little bit obsessed with making the moon glow a lot. So I'll be fussing over this thing several times. You don't have to do that. If you just put the moon up in the sky and you like the way it comes out, just leave it. You don't need to do all this glowing phase of it. And of course, we'll let it dry. And as we let that dry, we can start with the grass and the plants and vegetations and flowers in the foreground. So here, this technique, I call it the dabbing technique. That can be used in many mediums, acrylic, oil as well, and then of course here in watercolor. So I usually just, for watercolor, I just use a hard brush. You can see that brush is a little bit different than other brushes that I've been using because it's very hard. It's not a soft brush like most of the watercolor brushes, and that helps because then it makes it very it makes the lines very firm, let's say. So here, what you see me doing here, I'm trying to now add the shade for those pine trees, and I should have done that before I add that vegetation in the foreground, and I forgot. So now I'm coming back again with a very small brush to see if I can add that shade for those pine trees. And I mean, it's okay. Mistakes will happen all the time when we're painting because I don't know, I think we get excited about the painting and we just kind of forget to do things that are obvious. It is a good idea to have that shade area from the trees because the moon is shining over them. So it's good to have it. If you don't want to have it, that's fine. But I feel like it gives a very nice effect. So a little more touch-ups here with the moon. And I also want to tell you, so this paint that I'm using is fine touch paint. It's a student grade paint. It's not expensive at all, and I don't feel like we need very expensive paint for projects like this. This is to have fun, and the pigments in this paint are very beautiful, I think. And the paper that I'm using here, of course, is a watercolor paper. It's not my favorite type of paper. It's not very strong or not very thick, but it behaved very well for this painting that I'm doing here. So I'm satisfied with that. It's none of these materials that I'm using here are expensive. Everything is very affordable. I don't really like to spend a lot of money in very expensive art supplies unless I know for sure that I'm going to use that a lot or create something that I really want to make it special and last forever or something like that. So what I'm doing here, I'm just doing the flowers. This takes a little bit of time because you have to do one by one. There are other ways to draw flowers or to paint flowers in an image like this, but I thought this style here would be very easy, very straightforward. So I'm using here the white and the yellow, and practically the way that they come out of the tube, I just not mixing any water there, so they're very dry. And this paint that I'm using are in tubes, so I'm not mixing any water as I'm creating these flowers in the foreground there. So this time that you see me not doing anything in the paint is because I'm probably reloading the brush. So this takes quite a while. I'm speeding up the video here probably about 3 times faster than the real time. So if you are going to try this technique, just just so you know, this takes a lot longer than it looks here in the video. Just for the purpose of the video, I had to speed up and edit and cut a few things off. But just so you know, this takes quite a while. But it's very satisfying to do it, and it is easy, really. Just needs a lot of patience and and dedication and some time. But like I always say, this is quality time. So this is a very fun part of the process, which is to remove that tape. And surprisingly, even with all the water that I used in this paint, it didn't bleed through. And I thought it would, because it was a lot of water and the tape was not being very helpful. But here we're almost done. We're just going to create a few more details and the stars, and we will be done pretty soon. Okay, so this is the splatter technique. Unfortunately, you can't see, the camera was not high enough for you to see what I'm doing. But basically, I'm just splattering with a brush, white paint, and that's why I covered the trees and the mountains and the rest of the paint, so it wouldn't splatter in areas that we don't need stars. So the stars are only on the sky. So a few more details here, and just making this look very whimsical now with those lines in the sky. So that's not realistic at all, but I like the way you look. Just adding more details. So what you see me using there now is a metallic watercolor paint. It's so much fun to add some details in your watercolor paint with the metallic ones, because they really shine. You probably cannot see in the video, or even if I take a photo of it, it would be very difficult to see that, but these colors really, really shine on this paper. So we are almost done here with this paint. I hope you are enjoying this video. If you are, please remember to give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I ask you if you can please subscribe, so I can grow my channel and come up with more videos like this for you. Tutorials of painting, drawing, doodles, lots of creative, fun stuff. Okay, so we are finished. I really like the results. I really love the contrast of the blue with the yellow and the peach and all the stars. I think it came out exactly how I wanted. And I hope this video was helpful for you, and I hope it will inspire you to do something that you enjoy. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.